morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Hello, I am Lance McHan, and this is the Lance McHan Show, brought to you by SellYourHomeStockton.com. I'm a local real estate professional with Keller Williams. My license number is 01987449. I would like to extend an invitation out to anybody who is running against our current guest. It's an open forum, so I'd love to have you on. And I'm with Pat Withrow. He's running for County Sheriff. Thank you for coming on to my show, Pat.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Let's get into this. So I'm trying to figure out what made you want to become a police officer. When you were a kid, did you play cops and robbers, and were you always the cop? Let's take it way back.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We played around a lot like that, and cops and robbers, or cowboys and Indians, or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah,
and
keep it PC now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so I don't know if I was always a good guy, but learned playing both sides of it, I'm sure, and just always enjoyed. I'd enjoyed TV shows like that back in my days. It was like the Rookies or Adam 12 and things like that. I enjoyed those shows, and thought someday I might like to do that. But when you're going to school, you kind of start focusing on business and money and things like that, and I didn't think that I'd make enough money or being a cop or anything like that. So I started in business, right out of college, but then eventually I said, hey, I'm going to do something I love more than something I'm not enjoying, and eventually went back and went to the academy.
Oh, wow. How long ago was that?
Well, that was, in 1987 I went to the academy.
Okay.
So, 30 years ago. So.
And did you start in the sheriff department, or did you start, where did you?
I did. I was working for a company called Lumberjack. You may remember, they were like the Home Depot of the day.
I do.
And I had been transferred from our Bakersfield store back up here to Stockton, and just wasn't enjoying it. I enjoyed the side where we were chasing people out of the store all the time doing shoplifting, or we would hide in the yard at night and catching them climbing the fence. But I enjoyed that side of it, and it just so happened that one of the guys that worked for me in one of our places there in Lumberjack, his dad was assistant sheriff at the time, and he told me that he was going to apply and that they're looking for people. So I decided to put my application in, and they hired me and sent me to the academy up in Butte by Chico.
Oh, nice. That's a little bit ago out there. The law enforcement has changed quite a bit since then. I would imagine.
Oh yeah. My academy up there. First of all, it was great. I was a 25-year-old young guy, single, and
invincible.
Living at a Holiday Inn up in Chico. So that wasn't so bad going to the academy there. But it was only 16 weeks long then, and now it's all the way up to 26 weeks long. So a lot more information they've got to take in.
So did you get into law enforcement because family history? What was your passion about law enforcement?
Yeah, I am the first officer in our family, and although I did have a great-grandfather who was a sheriff down by Madera, Fresno area that I used to hear stories about from my grandpa. But so I'm the first in modern time for us to be in law enforcement. But I was raised, my family was very proactive in civil rights and things like that. So I was brought up with a passion as an Irish Catholic boy during the Kennedy years that you paid back to your community, and you treated people right, and you took care of those who couldn't take care of themselves. And that's the way I was raised. My mom and dad, I was blessed with great parents, and I lost my dad when I was 25, just out of the academy. But they instilled this, that you give back to your community and you protect people who can't protect themselves, and so that was kind of my passion.
I see. I think a lot of people have seen a social shift of that, where a lot of people, or maybe it's just because I'm more involved in the community, I'm seeing a lot of people starting to take care of other people, not rely so much on government involvement, but actually community involvement, reaching out to people and helping them get a hand up instead of a hand out. Yeah,
I agree with you on that. I really think in politics nowadays it's becoming so divisive, no matter what side of the fence you're on, and that people are saying that they really need to get personally involved, and if they're passionate about their community and helping their neighbors and help protecting their neighbors, because they know now, cops can't be everywhere.
Right.
And it's all about reaching out and helping each other and getting involved in organizations. And there's so many great organizations out there, nonprofits and things like that you can invest your time in and really make a difference in your community.
So what brought you to Stockton? What was the... Stockton's very unique. We're centrally located. We're an hour or so from the Bay Area. We're a couple hours from the Sierras.
Yeah.
2 hours away from the ocean. So what was it about Stockton that brought you here?
Well, I was born in Modesto, so I was close by. And Stockton was always kind of that big scary place up there for us in Modesto. We would come up here for, in high school and stuff like that, to go out to dinner for Christmas dance or prom or something like that. But, I didn't have any inkling that I was going to move up this way. But when I started working for Lumberjack while I was at Modesto Junior College, they hired me in their management program. And they transferred me down to Bakersfield. And I was down there for a year or so, and then I was promoted and got sent to this Stockton store. So it was close to home, where my family still is in Modesto, and so that's how I ended up in Stockton itself. And then, as I said earlier, it was just God reaching down and putting Bill Thomas in front of me with his dad as assistant sheriff, and that's how I ended up working at the sheriff's office here.
Stockton's kind of like a black hole. It just kind of, you get here and you're stuck here. Something's great about Stockton, and I see Stockton shifting from where it was a few years ago. People are becoming more aware of what's going on politically in the neighborhoods and trying to make a shift. So my question to you is, because you're running for sheriff, what was your moment? What gave you the idea, like, you know what, I need to do something? What was that moment, and what did that look like to you?
Well, I was in the sheriff's office for 28 years, and I had a great career there. I got to work patrol for a regular patrol. I started out in the old jail. They had the big old jail out there, and then I got transferred to the street and got to work the regular streets for about 3 years, all the different areas, and then I became a canine officer. And I got to do that for 12 years, which I thought was a fantastic job, and I eventually took over the training.
Drive around with your best friend, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I had two different canine partners, and they were great. And so I got to work all the different beats with that, and then I was on SWAT for 5 years, and I got to street crimes units and DEA drug task force. I got to work our city of Lathrop, which is our contract city. So I got to do all these different things in the sheriff's office.
So you're pretty well-rounded.
Yeah, I was very blessed. I got to do just about everything. And but then the current sheriff ran for election, and none of us supported him. Every time he's run, none of his rank and file staff have endorsed him or supported him. But he wins, and that's why we need to get involved and show up to vote if you're not happy with the way things are. But I was a vocal critic at that time, and we can see how under his 12 years how the department has changed, and how our county seat here has become number 6 in the nation in violent crime, and it's not getting any safer out there, and we've got all this corruption and mistrust going on at our department now, and so I was one of those guys who was complaining, and finally I said, if I'm going to complain about it, I better be willing to get involved. So it was never my goal to run for sheriff, but I sat down with my wife and my kids and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing, and so back in about...
You're crazy.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We knew nothing about politics, and he was like a tick, dug in, but I said, hey, I at least I've got to try, and that's what I would say to any of the citizens out there that feel disappointed or unhappy with the way our community is. Then you got to get involved, and even if the outcome doesn't turn out like you planned, at least if you tried, you can
bring
have
awareness to the situation. We have a couple, we have some big changes and good candidates running against the incumbents right now. I believe we need a change. Stockton is going to, in my opinion, it's shifting. It's either going to shift up for the better, or it's going to continue to go down.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the old saying, the definition of insanity is you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Well, that's where we all have to get involved. And we have to make it like politics used to be. We all took our turn going out and serving in politics and representing our neighbors, and then you'd come back and somebody else would step up. So these long-term politicians, they get in there and they forget why they really went in there and what their purpose and their cause is.
That's a very good point. You get kind of sucked up, I think, or stuck in the limelight of being that persona or that person, and you kind of lose. You have the ability to lose touch with the original reason of why you went in.
Yeah, you start to believe your own press. So that's why I think it's good that every now and then we rotate people in and out. We get new ideas, we get fresh eyes on it, and you try and make the changes that you can. And then what you need to really do is train the people around you so that when they're ready to step up, that they do an even better job than you did.
That's a very good point. You must have learned that in the academy.
Yeah, yeah, just life lessons, and it means so much in law enforcement because our lives depend on the guy standing next to us, just like in the military and many other things are in the fire department, so you want to make sure that you're imparting all the knowledge you can on young people that are coming into the department or working with you, and so that not only do they stay safe, but they keep their partners as safe. So.
Right, that's the important thing. One of the questions that somebody wanted me to ask you is concealed carry permits. What is your view on concealed carry permits?
Yeah, concealed weapon permits, CCWs as they're called, that's always been a strong part of my platform. Last time when I ran in 2014, the sheriff was not handing out CCWs. He was against it, and because we came out very strong in it, right towards the end of the election, he flipped and he said, okay, I'll start issuing them. And he now allows you to fill out your application, and he takes your money, but people are waiting years to get whether they're going to get their CCW or not. And I'm a firm believer, look, I do not want our public to have to be armed and walk around and worry about that, because it's a huge responsibility. It's huge liability. But God bless somebody who's willing to take on that responsibility and stand up and protect their neighbors until law enforcement gets there. So I'm a firm believer that if somebody's a good person and doesn't have anything precluding them from having a CCW, they have the right to protect themselves and their family and their neighbors, and I'm not going to stand in the way of that. I welcome that. I want them to be well trained. I want them to understand the liability. Having been in multiple shootings myself, I know how chaotic they can be and how dangerous they can be, and once that bullet leaves the gun, it's not coming back.
Yeah, it's life-changing.
Absolutely.
From a citizen's perspective, if I was to ever carry a weapon and have to pull it in a situation, no matter justified or unjustified, it's going to change your life. It's
Absolutely.
Something you have to live with for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's not like the movies. It's not like that at all. There is a physical and emotional baggage that you carry with you the rest of life. It impacts everyone around you, your family and friends. And so the best thing always is just be a good witness. Stay safe. If something bad is happening, be a good witness. Wait for law enforcement to get there. But if it comes down to that point that life is in danger and you have to make that choice, then I want to make sure that you're ready and have the skills that you need to be able to make a good choice and to do what you need to do to protect yourself and others until we can get there and help you.
There's a lot of organizations out there that train people for those situations. So I would imagine that would be one of your requirements, is to...
Oh yes, by law you have to go through the training and things like that to be able to get a CCW, and there's ongoing training. But I'd like to take it a step further. It's always nice to have law enforcement involved. I'd like my guys to be there, and we have equipment out there like the fax machine, and that's a computer generated program where you can stand in front of it and you get in shoot, don't shoot situations and things like that.
And so it's a simulator.
Absolutely, and it's shooting is a perishable skill. The Navy SEALs say that for every one day you don't shoot, you lose 1%. And so if you think about a guy who goes out and shoots every 6 months, he's losing about 50% of his skills there. So think about law enforcement who train all the time.
Wow.
We miss about 80% of the time when we shoot.
Oh, wow.
So it's really different when adrenaline hits and all that type of thing. So our goal is that you never have to use it,
right.
And that you never have to be in that situation. But if you are, I want you to have a fighting chance. And if my family's out in a restaurant, in a store, and some bad guy's going to hurt them, I pray to God there's a good citizen there who's willing to stand up and help protect them.
So touching on that, is there any statistics on people just drawing a weapon and ending the confrontation? Is there any good stats on that?
I'm not aware of any. I'm sure there are. There are people who are very educated on all those type of stats, and on both sides of that political fence, actually. I'm sure you're going to hear stats both ways, but the only time that weapon should ever be drawn, it's not to try and intimidate or scare somebody or something like that. It's deadly force is warranted. So you need to make sure that before you draw that smoke wagon, as they said in the movie, you better be willing to use it.
One of our viewers is asking, do you believe in change of school safety?
Absolutely. I mean, school safety is a huge priority right now in San Joaquin County. From the Sheriff's Office, we only have 4 school resource officers, and I think that's absolutely terrible for several reasons, not just for school safety, but we need to get back in our schools. We need to engage with our children and let them know cops just aren't around when bad things happen.
Right.
We are here to serve the public. That's the most important side that we forget sometimes, is that we're here for service and help no matter what your issue is. We're kind of the tip of the spear.
I remember as a kid, there was always, not always, but you would see a cop there, every couple days, and he would engage with the kids and walk around the playground and talk with people. So I think it shifts the perception of them growing up, where cops only, they only do bad things.
Right.
There's tons of cops out there who do good things
Absolutely.
for bad people all the time.
Yeah,
you never hear about that.
Stockton has a great school resource program. SUSD is amazing. They're the police of our schools and in there all the time. And we need to engage with these departments. That's why I've had the endorsement of Stockton PD and Tracy PD and Lodi PD, because they want us to help them engage in these things. And school safety is a huge part of that. And the more we're on the campuses during school, after school programs, all kinds of things like that, and the more eyes we have out there protecting our kids, bad guys are basically lazy. And they're going to go where it's easy to get away with things, and where people can be victimized without consequences for them. So if they know that they come to San Joaquin County, anywhere in San Joaquin County, whether it's in the cities or the counties, and that if they try and harm our citizens, that they're going to be challenged and we're going to fight back, well, then they'll choose to go somewhere else because they're cowards. They don't want to take that on. So yes, there's other programs we can do, lots of things we can talk about. I do not believe teachers should be armed. As I said, they've got a hard enough job as far as dealing with students. They shouldn't have this added stress of having a firearm that they would need to do. Just let them do what they do, and then we will get more people on campus. We could ask officers who have retired to come back as per diems and just be in plain clothes and hang out with the kids, and again get to know the officers as human beings, and yet be another set of eyes on the school to notice when things are strange, or to the big goal is to stop it before it happens, because once the bullets are already flying, people are dying.
Or maybe connecting with that kid who is being bullied, and so on, and that's reaching out to them before he gets to the point where he's like, screw it.
Right. So that's why we want trained professionals, I think, with like retired officers or things like that notice that change of behavior in a kid. He starts to become the loner or whatever like that, he or she. And then they go out and they reach out and they start to do that intervention to find out what's going on, something wrong at home, something wrong here at school, and stop it before it happens.
I agree. So what changes do you plan on if you're elected? What things are number one, top 5 in your book of things you want to do? I'm sure there's numerous. But what would you like to see happen in Stockton?
Well, you only know what you know. Yeah, you only know what you know at this point. But we've all seen the newspapers and see all the things that are going on in our department. So some of the things that I want to do is I want to start with restaffing regular patrol. We've got 124 positions allotted by the Board of Supervisors, and we only have about 67 guys out rolling on the streets in regular patrol. The rest are on specialized units. And I think that's part of school safety also. If we fill up all our all our beats and with all the officers we should have out there handling routine calls for service, then instead of just answering calls for service, now we're able to be proactive and get out of our cars and get to know our neighbors and get to be in our schools. So we need to restaff that. And I'm not talking about hiring a ton more people. We already have those bodies. We just need to use them properly.
Shift their
primary mission. The second thing we need to do is secure that jail. Since this current sheriff's been in office, we've had 337 escapes, which is the most in the nation. And that's unacceptable. If somebody's going to victimize our citizens, there should be a price to pay for that. And so we want to make sure that we secure that jail out there. I know every time that this sheriff has run, he says he's going to build a new jail, and he's never built it. He's saying it again this time. We don't need to build a new jail. We have plenty of beds out there. If we're going to build anything, we need to build a program out there where we can have apprentice and start training people who are in custody.
I was just going to say, like, give them, a lot of those guys and gals lack life skills. They lack the ability to earn, so they figure out other ways to earn.
Absolutely.
So building life skills and giving them an opportunity to go out back into the workforce and say, hey, I have a certificate, I'm a diesel mechanic, I screwed up back here, but I'm trying to straighten my life out, or construction skills, some type of life skills, teaching them how to balance a checkbook.
Absolutely. The trades are looking for so many people. We have a manpower shortage of men and women for all these jobs that we want to do around here. And so we have that captive audience. Let's give them the option not to go back down that path of crime again. And it's a win-win. Then we've got a productive citizen back paying their taxes, and it's just this cycle that stops this recidivism and them coming back. And it's much cheaper to train them once they're in there than to house them in that place. So we want to secure that jail.
So what is our recidivism is when people go back to jail a second or third or fourth time. So what is the current stats?
I don't have the current rate on it. I know it's huge, that people just keep coming back because they don't have any other option. You know?
Right. They just keep stealing or committing small.
And if we can help people get clean and sober and or give them job skills,
I think when they have a purpose, it's easier to stay clean and sober.
Absolutely, yeah. And there are so many state or local organizations that want to help, or nonprofits, and all the tools are there to help these folks. We just need to put it all together.
I mean, there's tons of nonprofits that we could all partner together and make a difference.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. So then the other thing we had to do is what we just saw. The Board of Supervisors hired an independent investigation into the Coroner's Division, and what they found was just shocking. It was atrocious, and so they voted to take the Coroner's Division, to strip the sheriff of the Coroner's Division that we've had since 1850. And I think it was a great decision on their part. At this point, we need to make sure that we have a separate medical examiner's office who do these investigations, especially in officer-involved incidents, and so that the public feels secure when a finding of one of our loved ones' deaths comes out, that they're confident that it was founded just on the facts of the case.
Right.
And then when it's officer-involved incident, then those facts are combined with the investigation that our DA and the other police agencies do to find out whether, if it's a death, it was justifiable or not. You know, and I have a unique perspective of this because I've been on both sides of this. I've been the guy who's the coroner out on the street and investigating deaths, and I've been the officer who's involved in the shootings and being investigated. And the only thing that we as officers ever want is to be judged on the facts of the case and be held to the standard that we tried to do what was best. And as long as we're judged on the facts of what we did, we're okay with that. You know, we strap on a vest and a gun every day, and we know that we can do something that impacts our lives.
The people.
Yeah. But the moment we get politicians involved who start trying to change the results, they're worried about whether they're going to get votes, or worried if this is going to impact them getting reelected, then we lose the trust of the public, and we must maintain the trust of the public. They must know they're going to get a fair, honest result from an investigation, and we have to be transparent about it. We have to show those videos that we have. Right now, the sheriff's office still nowadays does not have body cameras, and they're in the testing and evaluation stage. Well, he's going to stay in that testing and evaluation stage as long as he's in office, because he doesn't want any type of negative publicity.
Right.
You know, so no, we need
Stockton
to put.
PD has body cams.
Yes, they do, and we saw it in the controversy that's going on right now. They got knocked off apparently, and it's tough when you're in a fight and you're fighting for your life, and somebody's under the influence, and unless you've experienced that, you don't know how quickly these things can go sideways. But at least they have the cameras, and they're trying their best to be transparent, and you know, maybe somebody will come up with a uniform where the camera is sewn into the uniform itself, you know, and then we just plug in our shirt, you know, or whatever, and whatever it takes. But I was the first one ever at the Sheriff's Department to put cameras in our cars. They're still there today down in Lathrop. We do not have them in our patrol cars here. The sheriff refused to. But back then, 15 years ago, the officers agreed with me that we don't mind having the cameras in the car. We want people to see what we do. And 99.9% of the time,
we're risking our life to protect you.
Yeah, and that we're trying to do the right thing. And if we make a mistake, then we should admit it. You know, if I speak to somebody inappropriately and lose my temper or whatever, I should admit it, and there should be a price to pay for that. But as long as we're trying to do the right thing and being honest about it, I think the public will stand by us.
I agree. What do you? What's your opinion about the homeless situation? Somebody was asking.
Yeah, that's a huge problem here locally, and I want to do. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. You know, we have some programs right now that people are trying to help with the homeless, and this has been going on for years. But I like what Sacramento does. They have a homeless intervention team. They have officers on it. They have people from county ordinances or city ordinances, and they have mental health professionals, they have drug counselors, and everybody goes into it as a team. We're not reactive, we're being proactive, and going into these homeless camps and finding out and triaging people, finding out how they ended up in this situation, and you start triaging to find out how we can help them get out of this. So instead of just pushing them on and making it somebody else's problem.
Despite the perception, not everybody that's homeless is a drug addict.
Exactly. But some of them are, and that's an issue we'll deal with. We have homeless veterans. There's a huge problem growing nowadays, most people don't know about, in female homeless veterans out on the street. And then we have there's a very small percentage that want to live that lifestyle. Yeah. And that's where, you know, law enforcement comes in, and we enforce our codes and ordinances and local laws and make sure that they know this isn't the place that's going to happen. But anybody that wants help or needs help, then we need to go out there and try and help them.
I work with Catholic Charities, and there's it's called HUD Bash. It's a housing program for veterans, male and female. So, and then there's Anchor Village. It's a new building that's being built to help transitional housing for veterans. So things are starting to happen for the veterans.
Right. Our current sheriff, he's ignored this problem for years, and finally he said, "Oh, well, I'll let 60 of these homeless guys live at the jail out there and in some of the barracks." So he cleared out all the inmates from the barracks, and he's going to let these homeless guys live there while they get some training, and they're just a matter of feet away from the other inmates who are in custody. And the correctional officers are just scared to death by this, because you can imagine the drugs and contraband that's going to be thrown over the little 5-foot chain link fence to the other inmates, and how that's going to put them at danger. So it's just a political move that you know, we have so many other buildings that we could use here locally. I know the YMCA right down here is vacant, the old one, and I'm sure it needs some work, but you know, there's places like that we can be doing that they should not be in our jail.
I agree. I don't know if I'm supposed to agree, but I agree. I mean, it's just common sense.
Yes.
Somebody said that they're going to do something with the Greyhound bus station. They're going to put homeless people in there. Is that something that you're aware of?
I've heard several things that want to be done with the old Greyhound bus station. I know the one thing we can't do is pick up homeless people and put them on the bus and send them someplace else to make them somebody else's problem.
But that's what I've heard of this. I don't know if you may have an answer. Is that other cities do that? They ship a lot of their homeless to Stockton.
You know, I've heard that also. I know we have a lot of people showing up here. I've not seen that with my own eyes, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you know, that's an easy temporary solution to a problem that we should be trying to fix. I don't know what they're going to do with that building.
Here's a $40 bus ticket and $40.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll see Stockton. They'll take care
It
of you.
becomes somebody else's problem. Well, we're not going to do that here. We're all going to work together, and we're going to try and help these folks get out of this situation. And however they want to use that building, if it's for transitional housing or anything like that, obviously we can use a lot of that, and that would be fantastic. So, that will be up to the city, but anything like that to try and help, I think, is great.
I agree. I mean, to me, Stockton is such a great place to live. We just have all these little problems that are plaguing us right now. And if we could just get over the hurdle.
Right.
I mean, I don't know why Stockton can't be a huge metropolitan city.
It should be. You're absolutely right. It's this jewel that sits right here in the middle of California. And as you said, businesses should want to come here, but they don't, and then they won't until we get our crime under control.
Think about it. We have an airport.
Right.
We have an intermodal train station right off of Charter Way.
Right.
We have Interstate I-5 and 99.
Right.
And we have one of the largest inland ports in the nation.
Absolutely.
Why can't this place be booming with business?
It should be, and it will be. Once we turn the crime problem around, all people ever hear about Stockton is negative, unfortunately. And we're going to turn that around come June 5th, and that's when my election is, and when it's over, we're going to engage with all the other law enforcement agencies, and we're going to work together. We're going to throw a net over San Joaquin County and help people and make people safe, and we're going to be very tough on crime.
So you're going to work in conjunction with Stockton PD and the Sheriff's Department to try to... I've seen them, I have an apartment building downtown, I've seen them the sheriffs patrolling to help relieve. So what is speak a little bit on your plan with the PD and the Sheriff's Department.
Well, I think it's telling when Stockton PD interviewed me to see whether they wanted to support my campaign or not. The first question that came out of their mouth is, hey, what's happened to the Sheriff's Office? Where did they go? And I said, well, you guys are in a war and we've become Switzerland, because if you get engaged in a war, you can get bad press. Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to get back in the fight, and we're going to work alongside with Chief Jones, and we're going to share resources, and we're going to get back involved in joint task force and being very proactive in going after criminals. And we're also going to join with them in being very proactive in helping people. And anybody, we're going to offer that olive branch and say, hey, if you want out of this life of gang and drugs and crime, we are here to help. We will do whatever it takes to make sure that you can get out of this. But we are also going to have those arrows in our other hand that says, if you're going to victimize our citizens, and if you're going to point guns at our officers or our citizens, well, we're going to be there to stop you. And so we need to be aggressive on both fronts to make a difference. And I think more people are going to want out of that life of crime and want that help than we're going to have to hammer. And that's why we don't need to build a new jail. That's old style thinking. That's just going backwards.
I like what you're saying about teaching these inmates life skills. They're stuck there for a year or 2 years. You might as well give them a life skill, a trade, electrician, carpentry, something, auto body. Something to go earn an honest living.
Absolutely. We used to have those, and they were eliminated under this sheriff. We used to have an auto body shop, an upholstery shop, small engine repair. They even tried fiber optic cable stuff, which I wasn't a big fan. I didn't want them working on my alarm system. But no, the trades would really love to have these well-trained guys, or at least start their training, and they can come out and continue it and get good benefits and good pay.
Because you never know when you're going to change somebody's life. I was downtown with Mr. Murchison. He was the principal at Stag, and he was a real estate agent. I was looking at a building, and I run into this guy, and he was out there selling crack. I'm like, what are you doing out here? He was like, hire me. I'm like, why? It was my first thing, and he's like, well, I want to learn what you do. And I'm like, well, I don't know you, and if you steal my tools, then that's my life. Then I have to start over. Right. He's like, well, how much are your tools? I'm like, probably like $1,500, $2,000. He goes, I'll give you that right now. And I'm like, wow. I go, how about this? Here's my card. Call me, and we'll go have lunch. We'll start there. And so I look for him downtown all the time. He was right across the street from Mariani's, and I ran into him 5 years later on a fluke. And I was walking in and out, and I looked at this guy, big 6-foot brother, and I'm like, is your name Fred? And he's looking at me like, who the heck are you, you know? And he goes, Lance, yeah, I met you downtown years ago. He's like, oh man, he goes, I was just talking to my lady about you. He goes, I went to jail, and because of what you said, when I came out, I went to Delta College and went through the electrician's program, and now I'm working at Apple.
Nice.
And so you never know when you're going to change somebody's
Absolutely.
life. And those are the success stories that I think could be all over Stockton if we just, like you said, put that olive branch out there and reach out to these people who don't know any other way.
Right.
They're just making it day by day.
Absolutely. We change one life at a time, and every time we change one of those lives, that's one less victim from our citizens.
But I think it's a domino effect. That person changes other people's lives.
Absolutely.
This
Absolutely.
guy's name was Fred Wesley, and my wife's a school teacher, and I wanted to take him and go do an assembly and talk to the kids and go to Marshall Middle School and just share with the kids who are in that fishbowl and share with his success story. What is possible other than crime and violence?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we're talking about. And we in law enforcement, that's what we want to do. We want to help change lives and keep our citizens safe and get back involved in the game.
So what is your message to the people?
Well, my message right now would be please get out and vote. You've seen what's been going on. You know it's time for a change. And my election is over on June 5th. And absentee ballots come out here in just about a week.
Okay.
And so if you're not registered to vote, please register this time. Get involved. See what a difference you can make in your own community. And I pledge to you that we are going to turn our department around. We have great men and women that work there. We just need to give them the support they need. And we have city councils and we have board of supervisors that are all engaged, ready to make this change. Please get involved and vote. You can make a difference. So show up on June 5th and have your voice be heard.
So if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how would they go about doing that?
You know, I have my my webpage, which is Withrow for Sheriff, withrowforsheriff.com. I have Facebook. I'm all over Facebook and Twitter and all that. So I'm out there. I'm easy to get hold of, and my cell phone's listed on all that, so you can call me. And
wow, you're accessible.
Absolutely. Call me and ask me. I'll talk to you.
Most people try to hide from all that.
Yeah, yeah.
You're willing to take the tough questions.
I will. I mean, if you're gonna invest your vote in me, then you should be able to know what you're getting.
I like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Withrow. I'd like to extend an olive branch to anybody else's thinking about running against Sheriff Moore or Withrow or anybody in that platform. I want to be fair and balanced here. Again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in, and I will see you next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.